My name is Neale and I'm the CTO of Esselar, and today I'm going to talk to you about our two-factor authentication service called hostedAUTH. Before I go into detail, very briefly, two-factor authentication is often used in IT companies to protect access to systems by challenging the user for two factors of authentication to prove that user is who they say they are. This is synonymous with when you want to get money out of an ATM, for example. You have to type in a PIN number as well as have your card inserted in the machine before you get access to your money. Exactly the same concept is true in the world of IT. So typically you still have a PIN number, which is the factor that you know, and then you have something like a hard token that goes on a keyring being the second factor, and that is something that you have, and typically that token or that key fob is giving you a passcode on a little LCD readout, and the combination of a PIN number and a passcode is what's used to gain access to systems internally. I'll go into greater detail about how we provide that service in a hosted service online. Before I do go into greater detail, I'll just show you two-factor authentication working in a live environment. So typically two-factor authentication is used to protect access to a company's remote access VPN service, and we ourselves have our own hosted VPN service, which I'm just running up the client for now. So what I know is that I can, my username is already pre-filled because I've used this client before. So I'm going to type in my first factor, which is my PIN number, 4 digits. I have a token in front of me which I press a button on, and I get some more digits displayed in front of me. So this is the second factor from my token. So I type in 564-9989 being the second factor. I click connect. The client tries to establish a VPN tunnel to the hosted service, tries to verify the password, and we can see that we've now passed, and my taskbar down here tells me that I have my Esselar hosted VPN connected, and that is two-factor authentication working in a live environment. Now that you've seen two-factor authentication working in a live example, I'll just go into detail now as to how two-factor authentication solutions have traditionally been deployed, and then I'll contrast that with how hostedAUTH is deployed for our customers. So traditionally, in this example, we're showing remote access sessions using two-factor authentication. So either IPsec or SSL sessions are established to internal VPN terminating hardware, and the users will be challenged at that point to prove they are who they say they are. So they are asked to enter in their two-factor authentication credentials, being a username, their PIN number, and a passcode. Those details are then passed off to the internal two-factor authentication servers, checked against whether those credentials are valid or not, and if they are, then those VPN sessions, either IPsec or SSL VPN sessions, are allowed to establish to the VPN terminating hardware. With hostedAUTH, we basically take away the need for you to have the internal servers to your network, so you don't actually need to run these servers internally anymore, because the service is all hosted in the cloud across various data centers throughout the world. All we do is we reconfigure your VPN terminating hardware or whatever service it is that you're trying to protect access to. As long as we can send radius requests from those devices to the hosted authentication service, then exactly the same process occurs, whereby we challenge those remote users or whatever it is we're challenging to stop access to the services, challenge them for their two factors, and should all be well, then a positive acknowledgement is sent back internally to those VPN terminating hardware or other systems, and the users are allowed to connect. And it's as simple as that. So with a hosted authentication service, it is the absolute obvious alternative to traditional on-site server-based authentication solutions at the moment. We demonstrably provide the lowest total cost of ownership for any two-factor authentication service today. What's absolutely key to this and the rest of our hosted services is that the pricing is what we call a utility-based model, basically meaning that the costs for the service are based on the number of users you have per month and billed annually up front, and that includes a complete range of hard and software tokens, all the licensing, all the maintenance, and we do have a a unique way of transferring or basically migrating your service from an internal service to our hosted authentication service.